The shadow in the dark the hallway was silent. Only the soft hum of the space station's lights filled the air. Steel walls stretched in every direction, glowing faint blue with blinking signals. Outside the thick glass windows, stars floated, in the dark like dust on water. A guard turned the corner, yawning. He didn't see the shadow behind him. In one smooth movement, the shadow stepped forward. A gloved hand covered the guard's mouth. A short, silent pulse from a handheld device, and the guard dropped unconscious, not dead. She never killed unless needed. The figure stood over him, calm, quick, precise. Her name was Velra, known by bounty hunters as the Ghost, known by the galaxy's leaders as something worse, a problem that no one could solve. She was the deadliest assassin ever trained by the Black Fang, a secret group that raised children to become weapons. Velra moved forward like smoke. She wore a tight black suit, light as air but strong as armor. Her long red hair was tied back, but a few strands danced as she moved silently through the hallways. She was fast. She was focused. Her target tonight was Admiral Kayla Corrupt, military leader who sold weapons to enemies for credits. He thought he was safe on this secret station, but the Black Fang had sent Velra to end him. She reached the door of the control room. Inside, Kale was speaking loudly to someone on a screen. He didn't know death was 2 meters away. Velra pulled a small device from her belt. She was about to open the door when something caught her eye. Movement. Small. Quiet. She turned her head. There, in a side hallway barely lit by emergency lights, a child sat alone. A human child. Thin. Dirty. Holding something in his small hands. Velra blinked. This wasn't part of the plan. The boy looked up. Their eyes met. He didn't scream. He didn't run. He reached out his hand toward her and offered her a piece of chocolate. Velra froze. It was a small, melted chocolate bar wrapped in a torn silver cover. The boy had been eating it slowly, saving each bite like treasure. And yet, he was offering it to her. The hallway was still, for the first time in years. Velra didn't know what to do. This child had no fear. She stepped closer. Her mission was on the other side of the wall. The Admiral was still talking, unaware. She could finish it in seconds, but she knelt down instead. "Why are you here?" she asked softly. The boy shrugged. "Hiding. From what?" "Bad people. Like you." Velra didn't answer. The boy smiled. "You don't look bad." She had no idea what to say. No one had spoken to her like that since she was a child. No one had looked at her without fear. She took the chocolate, just held it, didn't eat it. "Thank you," she said. The boy giggled. "You have funny eyes." Velra blinked again. Then she stood up. Her body tensed. Her focus returned. She walked to the control room door and opened it. Admiral Kale turned, shocked. But it was too late. One clean shot. Silent. He fell back into his chair, lifeless. Velra turned and left. She passed the boy again. This time, he gave her a small wave. "Bye, Shadow Lady." She paused at the name. Velra didn't wave back, but her lips moved slightly. A hint of something. A smile. She disappeared into the darkness. But the chocolate stayed in her pocket. Later that night, in her ship, Velra stared at the silver wrapper. Why didn't she kill the boy? Why didn't she leave him to the guards? Why did she feel something? She had been trained to ignore feelings. Love, mercy, joy, these were weaknesses. But tonight, something inside her moved. It wasn't sharp. It was soft and confusing. She looked out at the stars. Someone was watching her. She could feel it. A tracking signal had been activated. She wasn't just the hunter anymore now. She was the hunted. And it had all started with a piece of chocolate and a smile. The human who didn't flinch. The spaceport was quiet. Rain fell lightly on the station's outer dome, tapping like fingers on glass. Inside, the cargo bay smelled of fuel, metal, and forgotten dreams. Workers moved quickly, unloading crates and whispering about the Admiral's sudden death. Velra moved among them unseen. She had changed her suit. Her face was hidden beneath a hood. No one noticed her. That was her gift to become a shadow, but her thoughts were louder than the silence. The boy's smile, the chocolate, the way he looked at her with no fear. Her training told her to forget it, but her heart, something she thought had died long ago, kept remembering. Velra was now a target. Her own people had placed a tracker on her ship. The moment she hesitated near the boy, the Black Fang knew she was changing, and change was weakness to them. They would send someone soon, someone like her. She needed to disappear. Velra entered Dock 17, where ships from Earth came in. She was planning to steal a maintenance shuttle, vanish into asteroid fields, and erase her signature trail. But as she entered the bay, something stopped her again. A voice. It wasn't loud, just a calm, relaxed voice humming an old Earth tune. She turned slowly. A man was working under a rusty cargo hauler. Grease covered his hands and arms. He wore a brown jacket, sleeves rolled up. His hair was messy, and his face had a 5-day beard. He looked human, completely ordinary. But something was wrong. He had seen her, and he wasn't running. Bodhi reacted fast. In 1 second, she had a blade in her hand. In another, she crossed the distance between them. But before she could strike, he raised both hands. Not in fear, in peace. Easy, he said, smiling. You're fast, but I'm not the enemy. She froze. What do you know about enemies? She asked. He shrugged. I work with machines. They don't lie. That makes them better than most people. Velra's blade didn't move, but neither did he. Who are you? She asked. Name's Liam, he said. And you're the ghost. Her eyes narrowed. I've heard stories, he added. Fast, silent, deadly. You took out Admiral Kale last night, didn't you? Velra stepped back slightly. Why aren't you afraid? Liam chuckled. Because if you wanted me dead, I'd already be dead. Velra didn't smile, but something inside her eased. For the first time in years, someone saw her hand, didn't panic, didn't beg, didn't flinch. He walked over to a small cooler by his ship, pulled something out. Chocolate. The same brand the boy had. He tossed it toward her. She caught it. What is this? She asked. A gift, Liam said. You saved a kid. Not many people do that. Velra didn't know what to say. She had killed generals, spies, and warlords. She had blown up labs and escaped prisons. But standing here, being handed chocolate by a smiling mechanic, felt harder. I don't need your kindness, she said. Maybe not, he replied, but maybe you deserve it. She looked down at the chocolate bar, then back at him. I'm being hunted, she said. They'll come for me. They don't forgive traitors. Liam leaned against his ship. Then don't run alone, he said. Velra blinked. Why would you help me? He looked at her for a long moment. You ever seen someone who looked strong but was just ... tired? He asked. That's you. I don't know your whole story, but I know what it's like to be used and thrown away. Maybe you need a reason to stop running. Velra stared at him. She wanted to laugh. She wanted to leave. She wanted to throw the chocolate at his face. But instead, she stood there, still, quiet, unsure. Suddenly, her ear chip buzzed. A coded signal, a whisper from her past. The Black Fang had activated a kill order. She had 12 hours before the first hunter found her. She looked at Liam again. I can't stay, she said. Then take this, he replied, tossing a small module. Tracker blocker, military grade. It'll hide your signature for 48 hours. She caught it without thinking. You're not scared of me? She asked again. He shook his head. You're not as scary as you think. Velra turned, walked into the shadows. But she paused once. She didn't look back, but she spoke. Thank you. Then she disappeared. Later that night, Liam sat on the edge of his ship. He looked up at the stars. He didn't know her name, but he knew her silence, and he knew the war in her eyes. He bit into a chocolate bar and whispered to himself, "Let's see if the galaxy's deadliest killer remembers what it means to be alive." Tracked and targeted. The sound of footsteps echoed in the steel corridor, but no one was walking. It was a recording repeating over and over, meant to confuse, distract, mislead. Velra crouched behind a storage rack in an abandoned lower deck of the station. The lights above her flickered. The air was colder here, dirtier, the kind of place forgotten by both systems and stars. She held her breath, eyes scanning every shadow they had come, her old masters. The Black Fang, not just one of them, a full retrieval squad, not to capture, to execute. Velra knew what that meant. She had crossed the line, saving a child, hesitating to kill, accepting a gift from a human. Those were signs of failure in the eyes of her creators. The Fang didn't forgive. They erased. The first hunter arrived silently, gliding across the hallway, like death wrapped in silk. He wore a helmet shaped like a bird's skull. His name was Talvek. Velra had trained beside him once. He had no emotions, no mercy, no heart. Just as they made him, Velra didn't move. She waited, listened. She remembered Liam's words. Maybe you deserve kindness. That voice, that small belief. It wasn't just noise anymore, it was protection. Her mind, once all steel and shadows, now had warmth and doubt. Talvek stopped 5 feet from her hiding spot. Then he whispered, "I know you're here, Velra." He tossed a flash grenade toward the rack. Velra rolled out just as it exploded, light and sound, swallowing the dark. Her blade was already in her hand. She attacked low, aiming for his knee, but Talvek was ready. He spun, kicking her backward into a metal wall. Pain shot through her side. "You were always the softest one," he growled. "I warned them you'd break." Velra spat blood. "I didn't break," she said. "I woke up." They fought in silence. Every hit was fast, brutal, real. They knew each other's style, every move, every weakness. But Velra wasn't the same anymore. She wasn't fighting for the Fang. She was fighting against them, and for something else, someone else. She landed a strike across his ribs. He screamed, staggered, and then she vanished across the station. Liam was rewiring a communications tower, sweat dripping down his face. He had been hiding her trail, rerouting signals, masking security logs, jamming tracking beacons. The more he did it, the more enemies noticed. He knew she would never ask for help, so he helped anyway. Suddenly, a screen near him blinked red. Security breach. A nearby camera flashed. The image showed Velra fighting someone and losing. Liam didn't think twice. He grabbed a shock rifle from his supply crate and ran. Back in the corridor, Velra was bleeding. She had escaped Talvek, but not without wounds. Her shoulder was sliced, her vision blurred. She stumbled into an old control room and sealed the door. Her breathing was heavy. Her legs shook. Then bang. The door cracked. Another hunter. She had no time until the ceiling above burst open. A figure dropped through the vent with a loud thud. Liam holding a rifle. He didn't hesitate. He fired 2 shock rounds directly into the doorway. The enemy outside roared and fell back. Velra stared at him. "You followed me?" she asked, voice weak. "I ran diagnostics." "You were losing," he replied. She blinked. "Why would you risk your life for me?" Liam knelt beside her, tore cloth from his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulder. "Because," he said softly, "I think you'd do the same." She didn't answer, but she didn't stop him either. Hours passed. They hid in an abandoned escape pod chamber, deep beneath the docking ring. Velra rested, her head against a broken panel. Liam watched the doors. "You don't talk much," he said. "I was trained not to," she whispered. "You were trained to survive," he said, "not to live." She looked at him. He continued, "But you saved that boy. You didn't kill me. You smiled once. You're not a machine, Velra's voice cracked. You don't know what I've done. I don't care. She was quiet. Then, slowly, she reached into her suit, pulled out the chocolate bar, still uneaten. She placed it between them. He looked down at it, then up at her. You kept it, he said. I don't know why, she replied. He smiled, because it meant something. Outside, the station lights began to dim. The Fang had launched a full lockdown. Every exit was closing. Every alarm was waking, and the final hunter was arriving. Not a soldier, a monster. The one they called the Whisper. Velra knew. They had only hours left, and this time, not even the shadows would be safe. The wall cracks, the emergency lights flickered red dot. An alarm echoed through the station's lower levels like a heartbeat, slow, heavy, threatening. Steel doors slammed shut, one by one, as the AI system entered full lockdown mode. The air inside the maintenance chamber turned colder, tighter, like the station itself knew something terrible was coming. Velra opened her eyes. She was lying on a narrow bench. Her shoulder burned, tightly wrapped in Liam's cloth. Her muscles ached. Her body, built for battle, was now trembling from exhaustion. But it wasn't just the wounds. It was something deeper. She felt hollow. She had faced death many times. She had never feared it. But this was different. She turned her head. Liam sat by the sealed door, holding the shock rifle across his lap. His jacket was ripped. A small gash ran down his forehead. But he wasn't complaining. He just kept watching, waiting for her. Velra sat up slowly. You should have left me, she said quietly. Liam glanced at her and gave a tired smile. You're welcome, she frowned. I mean it. You got pulled into this because of me. I got pulled into this, he said, because I saw someone worth saving. Velra didn't answer. Her training told her to keep distance. Never trust. Never get close. But that wall inside her, the one made of cold steel and commands, was cracking, and she hated it. She stood and walked to the far wall, touching the cool surface. She stared at her reflection in a shattered console screen. What? Do you see? A killer? A ghost? A woman trying not to feel? She didn't know anymore. Who is the Whisper? Liam asked. She stiffened. How do you know that name? She replied, voice cold. I intercepted a signal. Black Fang's final operative has entered the station. The internal systems called him non-human. What does that mean? Velra's hands curled into fists. She turned slowly. Because he isn't. Years ago, Velra was only 12, still human, still innocent. She was in the Black Fang compound, sitting on a cold floor beside a dozen other children. They were taught how to shoot, how to kill, how to ignore pain. But one night, they brought in something different. A creature, not alien, not human, something made, genetically modified, bred to track and kill without sleep, without remorse. He didn't speak, he didn't blink, he didn't even breathe right. They called him the Whisper, because you never heard him coming until it was too late. Velra had watched him kill an instructor during training. No warning, no hesitation. They told her, that is what happens to weakness. She had never forgotten, and now, he was coming for her. He's not just a killer, Velra said. He's death with a mind, and no soul. Liam was quiet. Then he stood. We should run. Velra shook her head. You don't run from the Whisper. He finds you, even in your dreams. Liam walked closer. Then we fight. Velra turned sharply. You don't understand. He's not like the others. He won't stop. He doesn't feel pain. He doesn't speak. He doesn't care who you are. He'll cut you down for breathing near me. Liam reached out and gently placed a hand on her arm. She flinched, but didn't move away. He said, then let's make sure you're not alone when he comes. Later that night, they prepared. Velra calibrated her blade. Liam set up traps using mining equipment, welding tools, and leftover explosives from an old cargo crate. Each movement brought them closer, not just in space, in silence, in trust. Velra caught Liam staring once. She raised a brow. What? You're not what I expected. What did you expect? She asked. He thought for a moment. Someone broken. But you're not. You're unfinished. That hit harder than a bullet. She turned away, but her eyes burned. Then the lights died. All of them, without a sound. Complete blackness. Velra's breath slowed. Her fingers curled around her blade. Liam whispered, "Is it him?" Velra didn't answer. A sudden crash echoed from the hallway, followed by silence, then dash. Whispers, not words, just sound. Moving like smoke, closer. Velra stepped forward. "I'll handle him," she said. "No," Liam said. "We do it together." She looked at him. "I'm not worth dying for," she said. He didn't blink. "Then live for something." The door exploded. A shadow entered 7 feet tall, body made of shifting black armor and pulsating veins. No eyes, no mouth, just movement and death. The whisper had arrived. He didn't charge. He floated. Velra attacked first fast and silent. But he was faster. He blocked, countered, slammed her into the wall. She grunted in pain. Liam fired the shock. Rifle dot. It barely slowed the creature, but it gave Velra time. She rose, again cutting, striking, spinning. She remembered everything they taught her, but also everything Liam had said. She wasn't just a weapon, she was human, and she was done running. With a scream, she drove her blade into the Whisper's neck. Electric sparks exploded. The creature roared for the first time. Liam activated the trapped-on explosion lit the hallway. The Whisper vanished in fire and smoke. When the light faded, Velra lay in Liam's arms, bleeding, but alive. She looked up at him. "You stayed," she whispered. He nodded. "I said I would." Tears formed in her eyes but didn't fall. She was still learning how to cry. For now, she let herself rest, not because she was weak, but because someone was holding her, without fear, and that wall inside her, finally cracked. The assassins passed. The medbay lights glowed soft and dim. Velra lay on the operating table, still and silent. A thin medical wrap covered her chest where the Whisper's claws had torn through flesh. Her breath came slow, steady but weak. Machines hummed around her, repairing what could be repaired. Liam sat by her side. One hand rested lightly on hers. He hadn't moved in hours. The AI nurse had offered to sedate him. He refused. He didn't want to sleep. Not while she was still fighting to live. Outside the window, stars drifted by like memories. Inside Velra's mind, something stirred. A dream, a memory. She was 6. Her real name wasn't Velra. She couldn't even remember what it was anymore. She lived on a peaceful colony, planet green grass, real water, blue skies. She had a mother, a father. They laughed. They danced in the rain. Her mother gave her warm cocoa on cold nights. Her father told bedtime stories. Then the Black Fang came. One night, without warning, her village burned. Her parents screamed. She was dragged from the flames by a soldier with red eyes, thrown into a cold, dark cage with other children. That's when they named her Dot, not with kindness, but with control. Designation for 2, Velra. Codename, Velra. Asset class, Elite. They trained her to forget too. Killed Dot too. Obeyed Dot. But in that moment, on that burning night, she had screamed one last time, "Mama." Velra opened her eyes. Liam was asleep in the chair, head tilted forward, arms crossed. His jawline looked tighter now, his face pale, worn. Dot. She slowly sat up, ignoring the pain. The monitor beeped a warning. She disabled it with a flick of her finger. Dot. Quiet, like always. She looked at Liam, a man who had no reason to risk his life for her. And yet he did. Twice. Why? She stood, Her legs trembled, her chest ached, but she moved to the mirror. She stared at her reflection, not at the blood, not at the scars, but at her eyes. They were different, not hard, not hollow. Something lived there. Now, a small light, flickering weak but real. Was this what it meant to be? Free. Later, she sat across from Liam in the crew lounge of the hidden medical ship. He had just woken up, and now, with no weapons, no enemies in sight, he poured her tea. It was awkward, almost funny, a human giving tea to the galaxy's most feared assassin. She watched the steam rise. "You said I'm unfinished," she said suddenly. Liam looked up, surprised. "You are," he said. "You've been shaped to fit someone else's world, but not your own." Velra was quiet. Then she spoke. "I had parents once." Liam froze. Velra continued. "They were kind. They gave me cocoa, told me stories. Then the Black Fang burned my world, took me, made me forget. But last night, in the fight, when I thought I might die, I remembered my mother's face. She looked at him, and I was afraid I'd never see it again, even just in memory." Liam said nothing, because he knew. "Sometimes silence was the greatest form of respect," she added. "I kept killing for them, because I thought I had no choice. But now, you do," he finished. She nodded slowly. "But they'll never stop," she whispered. "They'll keep hunting. As long as I breathe, I'm a threat, a traitor, a message to others." Liam leaned forward. "Then let's send our own message." Velra's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean? You said they took your past, trained you to be a weapon. But what if you turned their weapon into a voice?" Velra stared then. For the first time in years, her lips parted into a soft laugh. "You want me to speak out?" He shrugged. "Maybe not at a podium. But what if we go deeper, find their files, rescue other kids, burn the system from the inside?" Velra looked at him. "Now you're talking like me. Maybe I've picked up some bad habits." They both smiled, just for a moment. Then the console beeped. A signal encrypted, short-range. Velra stood. "It's from their main base." Liam asked, "How can you tell?" "I recognize the pattern. It's the same signal they used when they tested us." "Tested?" She looked away. "They used to lock us in cages. No food, no water. Then tell us only the strongest would survive. If you cried, you were marked. If you begged, you were punished. If you showed mercy, you were ... erased." Liam clenched his fists. She turned toward the exit hatch. "I know where they keep the core database," she said. "The real names, the stolen children, the failed experiments." The whisper was just one of them. Liam stood. "Let's go." She paused, looked back at him. "You're not trained for this. I don't care. You could die. Then, I'll die trying to help someone who finally remembered how to live." Velra stared at him. She had killed men for less honesty. Now she nodded once, then suited up. Far across the galaxy, a dark planet rotated slowly behind a gas cloud. Underground, inside the Black Fang's hidden base, a figure watched a screen. Velra's face appeared. An old voice spoke from the shadows. "Bring her back, or bring me her heart." The hunt was far from over. But this time Velra would be the one doing the hunting. The final contract. The dropship entered the cloud belt of a dead planet. Lightning arced across the sky like veins on broken glass. Beneath the storm, jagged cliffs rose from black sands, surrounding a hidden facility carved into the bedrock like a scar. Velra stood in the loading bay, silent. Her armor was dark, reforged with pieces from the Whisper's own broken shell. Her blade, once a tool of obedience, had been reshaped by Liam's hands. Lighter, faster, personal. This was not just another mission. This was war, but not against a government, not against a single name. This was war against the people who made her, who broke her, who trained her to kill children and forget their names. Liam stood beside her, dressed in reinforced scavenger gear, and carrying a high-frequency disruptor. His hands were steady, his mind sharp, but his heart, it pounded, not with fear for himself, but for her. He knew this place, not by name, not by map, but by what it meant. It was the cage, the one she had never escaped, not really, until now. "Are you sure?" he asked quietly. Velra didn't look at him, but her voice was clear. "If I don't burn it now, I'll carry it forever." They landed on the outer ridge. The air smelled of smoke and metal. The outer gate was disguised as rock. But Velra found the access port by memory. She placed her hand on the scanner. It beeped, red light. Access denied. Then the panel glitched. A familiar voice came through the speaker. "You should not have come home." Velra's heart dropped. The voice belonged to Instructor Nirl, her first handler, a man who once told her pain was the language of strength. She replied coldly, "I'm not here to speak. I expected more from you," he hissed. "You were the best. Now, look at you corrupted by human weakness." Liam stepped forward. "She's not weak. She's more alive than you've ever been." Silence. Then the gate unlocked. "Then come," Nirel said. "Let's see if you remember your lessons." Inside the compound, red lights lined narrow steel corridors. Walls were decorated with masks, trophies from missions, completed by Black Fang agents. Velra recognized some of them. She had worn one of them once. Now it made her stomach twist. They passed the training pit, a room filled with holograms of screaming children, part of the emotional resistance test. She had survived it. Others had not. Liam whispered, "How did you survive this place?" Velra stopped. "I didn't," she said. "Not all of me." They reached the core chamber. Inside, a massive server pulsed with a faint, living glow. Dozens of tubes filled with fluid lined the walls. Yeesh, one holding a sleeping child. Genetic clones, half-formed warriors. Spare parts for the future. Velra's fists tightened. Suddenly, the door behind them slammed shut. Instructor Nirl stepped forward, flanked by two elite operatives, former classmates of Velra. He smiled like a vulture. "I gave you everything," he said. "Speed, strength, control. You were my masterpiece, and you broke for chocolate." Velra stared. "You gave me death," she said, "and now I'm returning the favor." He signaled the operatives to attack. The battle began. It was fast, violent. Velra moved like lightning, dodging, spinning, striking. But her opponents were like hurt rained in the same school. They knew her every move. Liam stayed behind cover, launching EMP grenades and activating noise disruptors. One of the enemies turned toward him. Velra saw it, and she screamed, "No." She leaped, intercepting the blade meant for Liam. It cut through, her armor just deep enough to bleed, but not enough to stop her. She roared fury and fire and knocked both enemies unconscious with a double strike. Then she turned to Nirl. He stood by the data core, hand hovering over the kill switch. "You can't stop this," he said. "You destroy me, another takes my place. You shut this base, 5 more open." Velra stepped closer. "This isn't just about shutting you down." She lifted a small device from her belt, Liam's custom data key. "It's about showing the galaxy what you really are." She plugged it into the console. The system screamed, "Every secret, every file, every name, uploading to every public server, every newscast, every rebel leader, every journalist. Truth. Unleashed." Nirl's face went pale. "You'll doom us all," he growled. Velra turned. "Good." She fired one shot. Clean, quiet. He fell. Alarms began to scream. The base was rigged to self-destruct. Velra and Liam ran through the burning corridors. Fire followed. Walls cracked. Lights shattered. They reached the outer gate, just as the blast consumed the chamber behind them. The explosion lit the sky, the base, the ghosts, the pain gone. Hours later, on a quiet moon, under open sky. Velra stood barefoot in the grass. She watched children play nearby, rescued from the cloning tubes. Free now. Liam walked over, holding 2 mugs. Hot cocoa, he said. Not as good as Earth's, but close. She took it, sipped warm. Sweet, real. Liam smiled. You know, you never did tell me your real name. Velra looked up at the stars, then whispered, I think I'm ready to remember. The gift that changed her. The wind danced softly across the quiet meadow. Sunlight touched the grass like warm fingers. Children laughed near the stream, their voices full of life. In the distance, green hills rolled toward the horizon, untouched by war, unmarked by blood. Velra stood on the porch of a small wooden house. Her armor was gone, her weapons buried deep beneath the soil behind her home. She wore simple clothes now, a sleeveless gray shirt, dark trousers, bare feet in the earth. The kind of person she used to believe she could never be. She watched as Liam knelt beside a young boy, showing him how to fix a power rod from an old hover scooter. The boy nodded, eyes wide. Velra smiled, not a hint, not a shadow, a full, honest smile, because it was real, because it was hers. 2 weeks had passed since they burned the Black Fang base to the ground. The information leak had shaken the galaxy. Governments disavowed involvement. Protests filled the stars, and across systems. Secret compounds were uncovered. Raids began. Children were rescued. Cloned experiments were shut down. A movement rose from the ashes. It didn't erase the past, but it gave the future a chance. Velra didn't lead it. She had no desire to become a symbol. She had already lost too much, but sometimes symbols found you anyway. She sat on the hill that night, staring at the stars. Liam joined her, holding something wrapped in cloth. You know, he said, I still remember the first thing I saw when you walked into that cargo bay. Raised a brow. My blade? He laughed. No, your eyes. They weren't empty, just locked. She looked down. Not anymore, he added. He handed her the cloth. She unwrapped it slowly. Inside a bar of chocolate, melted slightly, wrapped in the same silver foil the boy had given her, but this one had something carved on it. Her name, her real name. He had found it in the decrypted Black Fang files, hidden behind layers of code. She had never said it aloud, until now. Alira, she whispered. Her voice trembled. The wind carried it. Alira, her name, that, her truth. Liam placed a hand on hers. That's who you've always been. They just tried to make you forget. She held the chocolate to her chest. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not from pain, not from loss, but from the weight of finally being free. Suddenly, ripple in the distance. A hum, low, mechanical. Velra's body tensed instantly. Even now, the instinct never faded. She stood from behind the trees. A small scout drone rose, rusted and cracked. It buzzed once, scanned the area, and projected a message. A hologram flickered into place. A woman, older, battle-scarred, dressed in armor that bore the old Fang insignia. Velra, the hologram said, you burned our house, but you forgot one room. Velra narrowed her eyes. You think it's over? We still exist. In pieces, in shadows, and your choice inspired others. The woman leaned forward, and that means we're watching. Always. The hologram vanished. The drone exploded. Liam looked at her. What do we do now? Velra didn't flinch. She looked at the horizon, at the stars, then back at the chocolate in her hand. I live, she said. I fight if I must, but not for them. Not even for revenge. She looked at Liam. I fight for what this means. She held up the chocolate, the gift that told me I was still human. 1 month later, on a distant space station, a bounty hunter watched a wanted list scroll past. One face caught his eye. A reward, 10 million credits, Deadliest, assassin turned traitor. But below it, in bold red, do not engage, subject unknown, last reported sighting, Unknown. Warning. Survivors describe her as unstoppable. The bounty hunter turned to his partner. Think she's still out there? The other man shrugged. No one ever finds her. Back on the green hill, Alira once called. Velra sat beneath the stars. A child climbed into her lap, sleepy-eyed. Double quotes. Mama, will you tell me the story again? She nodded. Double quotes once. There was a girl made of shadows, she said, but someone gave her light. The child smiled, like a flashlight. No, she whispered, like a piece of chocolate. And in that moment, the deadliest killer in the galaxy finally knew peace.